I'd like to call the meeting to order. First order of business, please stand for pledge.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Pursuant to the Open Public Meetings Act, Chapter 231, Public Laws of 1975, this meeting has been duly advertised in the Asbury Press, issue of May 16th. All municipal clerks of the townships and boroughs within the Regional High School District have been duly notified, and the requirements of posting of notices have been met. Okay, we need approval of the minutes from the last meeting.
No, there are none on there.
There are none on there. By the way, just as a little aside, we told you we'd be back at 8:15, and we're sorry for the 7-minute delay. Okay, communications of reports. Superintendent's report.
Okay. Good evening. At this time, I'd like to turn over the program to Mr. Keith Lynn, principal of Colts Neck High School, who will probably turn it over then to our junior ROTC program.
Thank you very much. It's a pleasure to have the opportunity to come before you tonight and do a little bragging. We've got an extraordinary group of students in our building working within the NJROTC program. And it's my pleasure tonight to be able to report to the board on some of their accomplishments. It's been a phenomenal year. When I talk to the leadership of the unit, what I hear as their vision, or their vision for success, is two words: opportunity and pride. Trying to create an opportunity for our students to grow, reach their fullest potential, and to achieve at a remarkably high level, and pride in themselves, in their unit, and in the school community. It was important 4 years ago to bring everybody together and refocus our attention. Our group of senior cadets this year that are graduating for us this year, when they entered the program as freshmen, we were all a little astounded when our year-end report that year identified us as a school in need of improvement, a unit in need of improvement. So we focused our attention, we got to work, and in a year, turned that around. The following year, the Colts Neck, or the Frhsd Regional High School District ROTC unit, NJROTC unit, was identified as the most improved in the area and designated as a unit of distinction with academic honors. That distinction was repeated the following year, and for the 3rd year in a row, we've been named Distinguished Unit with Academic Honors. Now that means that we are part of the best in the area. We are part of an area designated as Area 4. It takes up most of the Northeast region, as far west, I think, as Ohio, if I'm not mistaken. A lot of schools. It's not just a small section of New Jersey. This takes in a large area of the country and a lot of schools. The fact that we have been identified as a distinguished unit means we're in the top echelon of those schools. The added designation of academic honors means that we're in the top 10 of all the schools in our area that have been designated as distinguished units. Now, what goes into establishing that designation? Well, what they're looking for from the unit is demonstrated excellence through administration of the program itself, the academic performance of the cadets, military proficiency, and school support. They want to see that demonstrated through community and school service, a variety of what they call orientation experiences, experiential experiences, opportunities for our cadets to be part of the real military life, and competitions in a number of areas, which we'll touch on in a little bit. I can tell you that where Colts Neck excels and where our unit excels is in the school and community service. Our kids have been involved in any number of community and school services. We provide color guard services for dozens and dozens and dozens of events. I'm sure if you've been at any local events, you've seen them, but they work all over the state and all over the region. They also do fundraising. They've fundraised and volunteered their time for the American Cancer Society, MS Walk for Life, Toys for Tots, the Ashley Lauren Foundation. There was a particularly important and I think dramatic activity done with one of our local elementary schools. They went in to help the school collect personal items for our troops in Afghanistan. Well, it turned into almost an adoption of our unit by those kids, and it was a phenomenal experience. It was a remarkably successful opportunity. Our cadets have also performed in parades all over the area, Memorial Day, Veterans Day. They're a staple in New York City for the Veterans Day parade there. They literally have raised thousands of dollars and spent thousands of hours donating their time for their school and for their community. These experiential experiences are very important to the unit. We're rated intently on how many of these experiences we offer. One of the most dramatic has been our participation in the Tiger Cruises. Over the past 3 years, a number of our cadets have had the opportunity to get bused down to Virginia. 2 years ago and last year, board the Iwo Jima, sail up the coast and into New York City Harbor for Fleet Week. As we speak, 15 of our cadets, along with Master Chief Loring, are at sea, ready to sail into New York Harbor Wednesday, and they're actually sailing on one of the newer ships, the USS New York. This is a ship that was actually built using metal from the Twin Towers, so it's quite an accomplishment for them. They've also participated in a 4-day boot camp at Parris Island, a grueling but very rewarding experience. And they've also gotten into the routine of visiting our military academies. This past visit, this past year to West Point, was highlighted by a greeting from one of our own. We have a freshman in attendance at West Point now. So it was good to see him. So those experiences have led to our designation as it exists. And then there's the competitions. We have a drill team that is renowned throughout the country. They are participating at the highest level in national competitions throughout the year. There's a level of participation that I think is important to talk about. We have an area for competition that takes place every year. In fact, they just got back from that Sunday. They were there over the weekend. I understand we took first in 4 out of 6 categories. 5 out of 6 categories. So they did very well. They took second overall. I would have hoped for a first, but you have to shoot for something. And based on that performance, they're able to perform next year in Pensacola, Florida, at the national competitions there. This year, they went to Florida and participated in the national competitions in the Masters level. There's 2 levels of competition. There's the Challengers, which is what we've been participating in over the past few years. Not as high a level of competition. We did very well and performed well enough at that level to participate this year at the Masters level. A very successful weekend. 27 of the best teams, best drill teams in the country were in attendance, and our unarmed unit, known as the Pride of Colts Neck, took first place for inspection out of the entire country. They came home with this. So we're very, very proud of them. Very proud. There's also orienteering competitions, which I understand is they take the kids out into the woods and they leave them there. and then they've got to find their way back. They're timed and measured, and yeah, that's really catching on. We've got some younger kids that have really are real passionate about it, and I think you're going to see the same level of achievement in that area as we're seeing in the drill team. There's also academic competitions. We participated in 5 of those during the course of this school year, and that's an area we see that we really need to keep pushing the envelope on. In addition to that, there are physical fitness or athletic competitions. We participated in 3 of those this school year. So all those things together represent what drill is all about. And our kids have, as I said, raised the profile of the Frhsd Regional High School District to a national level, and we can all be very, very proud of that. Besides just being able to brag a lot, being designated as a distinguished unit with academic honors gives us some real power. One of the things that is outstanding, typically, for a student to get recommended for a position in one of the military academies, there needs to be a recommendation that comes from a congressman, a senator, president, or vice president. But as a school, which is a distinguished unit with academic honors, I have that authority. I can nominate up to 3 students to each of the academies: Naval, Army, Air Force. And as I mentioned earlier, we currently have 1 student who's attending West Point this year as a freshman. So that's quite something for us to be able to do. In addition to that, there has been an expansion of opportunities in science, technology, engineering, and math. Science, technology, engineering, math, called the STEM program. The military has offered opportunities, college-level opportunities, for students over the summer attending 2 schools, and I believe that's beginning to get expanded. But right now, Embry-Riddle in Florida, and also University of San Diego out in California. Over the past several years, we've had 4 participants be accepted into those programs. They're highly competitive and offered nationally. We have a student going this summer. She'll be attending the program down in Florida, so we're very proud of that. One of the opportunities our cadets have the chance to go after are ROTC scholarships. These represent full rides to the college or university that they're attending. Currently, we have 3 students that are attending college on ROTC scholarships. We have a 4th student that was awarded that scholarship, will be attending the University of Arizona next year. The value of that scholarship is estimated at $180,000. So that's really something. And then, as I said, we have the 1 appointment currently attending West Point. So all in all, we're very, very proud of the accomplishments of our unit. I think the district as a whole can be very proud of our cadets and the NJ ROTC unit. I think that we have, over the past 4 years, turned that vision of opportunity and pride into a reality. So I thank you very much. People. First of all, we couldn't do this without the board and central office administration support. Every time I want something or need something, I ask, and they work hard to make it happen. So I want to thank them. All these trips and the competitions that our cadets go on, the money doesn't grow on trees. There's a lot of fundraising that has to occur. We have the most dynamic and supportive group of parents you could ever want to have, so I want to acknowledge those that are here tonight. Thank you all very much. They do indeed deserve a lot of credit for this. We also have very dynamic instructors. These guys are the best, and I think that every cadet that comes in contact with them would agree. So I want to take this opportunity to thank Master Chief Michael Duncan and Major Greg Penzak. Zach is our senior naval science instructor and does a great job of keeping things moving in the right direction. And our third instructor, as I said, Master Chief Loring, is on the New York with our cadets sailing up towards New York as we speak. But most of all, I couldn't stand up here and talk about what a great job our cadets are doing without acknowledging their contribution. They work hard. They're at school from early morning till late at night. Whenever I need students to help show people around the building, they're there in a heartbeat. So I want to acknowledge them and take a moment to recognize this year's battalion commander, Miss Victoria Frhsd. She is turning the reins over to next year's battalion commander, Miss Amanda Bertan. And on behalf of the entire unit, Dr. Kagar, I have two things to present you. First, a nice picture of the whole unit. And second, our certificate naming us as Distinguished Unit with Honors. Any questions? Yes, Ken.
Okay, I'd just like to mention that I'm very proud of this group. I'm fortunate to know a few of the families that participate and support their children. And I was honored to be at their ball this year, and it was a great experience. And I'm thankful for your support and what we've had. It's a great representation of the Frhsd Regional District.
I also would like to congratulate the instructors and the program on the proud father of a gentleman who graduated Frhsd Regional High School District, went into the Navy at 18, now at 38 is a doc on a fast attack sub called the Columbus out of Pearl Harbor. And I know it's taught him many great lessons about perseverance and so many other things. So I just want to congratulate you. We have a great program.
Anything else? I also need to thank Mrs. Bruno for helping me put together the program. She created hyperlinks for me. Now I can do hyperlinks.
Are there any board reports? We had a
Okay, next up we have
our favorite part of the meeting, public participation. First up, we have Helen Hopper.
Helen Hopper, Marlboro, New Jersey. I would first like to congratulate the Coltsnick NJROTC program. They really did a great job and continue your great efforts.
Is that on?
Hello?
Gotta get it closer.
Bring it a little closer. Maybe. Hello?
That's not even on.
That's not even on.
Sorry.
Charlie.
This is as far as it goes.
It's on. Is that as loud? That as loud as it goes?
Marlboro, New Jersey.
Okay, speak right into it.
Okay. Good evening, Mr. President. I would like to ask the Marlboro representative a question. The night before this school board election, the voters of Marlboro and Coltsnick received a robot call from Mr. Messenger that included in part the following line. My opponent endorsed spending thousands of dollars on legal fees to reveal the identities of anonymous bloggers on NJ.com. As this expenditure never occurred, as Mr. Placatello, the former Colts Neck representative, told the public a year ago, I would be interested to see the bill that Mr. Messenger must have that would tell us differently. Since the last meeting, I have finally been given the total money spent on the lawsuit involving former board member Bonnie Sue Rosenwald. I was shocked to see that this district spent in excess of $247,000 to settle this complaint. It is my opinion that this money could have been better spent on educating our children instead of inflating our legal expenses. As I have asked at the last meeting, I would like an update on the status of the reimbursement of this litigation from the insurance company. Is this law firm looking for the total expenditure to be returned to the district, or will the taxpayers of this district be responsible for footing this bill? As I reviewed attachment number 1, I would like to ask Dr. Hazel a few questions. It appears that Marlboro High School lists 3 paraprofessionals and the remaining schools have 3 to 4 times as many. Why is there such a noticeable difference between the schools? Is any part of these salaries paid for by grants? Also on attachment number 2 on page 7, why is Regina McGowan listed receiving double stipend for vocal director and assistant vocal director? She should receive 1. On page 9, why doesn't Manalapan High School have a head football coach listed? On page 11, Nancy Bailey is listed as senior class advisor. As she is expected to deliver a baby this summer and plans to return to work on November 4th, Ms. Bailey should only receive 80% of the stipend to compensate her for 80% of her time. Thank you for your time.
Mr. President, I can help with some of that.
Yeah, I would like to institute a new practice where I know in class, the best thing if a student asked you a question was to answer it, not wait till the end of the class. So I would like to institute a policy where we answer people their questions.
Well, I can certainly answer part of that. So that everybody knows what you now know, Mrs. Hochberg, the law firm of Podby Meaner, which was the law firm that represented Mrs. Rosenwald in her ethics matters, was paid pursuant to the indemnification statute a total of $135,000. That was compromised from a claim which they asserted in excess of $300,000. The firm of Lum Drasco, which represented Ms. Horvath, Ms. Capiello, Ms. Hammer, and others in defense of ethics charges, was paid $46,355,000 pursuant to the indemnification statutes. Our office, which didn't participate in the ethics matters at all, but rather participated in a censure matter going back to November of 08, I think, and was obligated to represent the district in the indemnification action, was paid $65,000. Yes, all of that is sought in the action against the insurance company.
And when do you expect resolution?
As I told you at the last meeting, there are discussions that are ongoing, and I would expect a resolution of that quite soon. There are certain policy limits, and we've been arguing with the carrier about the number of policy periods and the amount of policy limits in an effort to get the policy periods and policy limits to be large enough to do exactly what you're asking.
Wait.
There was a question on
Doctor.
paraprofessionals. The paraprofessional appointments basically is driven by students' IEPs and their programs. In each of our high schools, we have specialty programs, LLD programs, autism programs. It is based primarily on need and numbers of adults in the classroom based on code. At Marlboro High School, we have a predominantly in-class support model where there's a general ed teacher and an inclusion teacher in the classroom, and we don't have the need, as in the other schools, for their programs for the additional paraprofessional and support staff.
Okay. So it's handled different.
It's different programs require different types of staffing depending on the student's services and the classifications of the students in the programs that we're running. If we have a learning and language disability program or an autism program, the level of service for those programs is a little bit different.
And the stipend questions?
The stipend questions?
That should be music director, right?
But on page 7, she's listed for both. Vocal director and assistant, and why is she spoken out?
No, it's vocal director, yeah.
An assistant vocal director.
No, yeah, I think it should be assistant music director. She's splitting it with Larissa Sack. It should be music director.
Yes.
Assistant music
The one
director.
underneath, she's splitting it with yellow.
Instead of vocal, it should be music.
Okay. And on page 9,
Yeah, head coach is
assistants and no head.
One Ed Guerrero.
Yeah, Ed Guerrero is the head coach. It shouldn't have said assistant. He's at step 4.
Okay, and Ms. Bailey's issue about taking maternity leave and returning November 4th, which is page 11. That same attention to the page 11.
Are we allowed legally by the contract with the teachers union to provide a percentage of the stipend? Or the honorarium?
Well, I wouldn't typically be discussing what we can and can't do under the teacher's contract in public.
Okay, then we'll address it.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Al. Next up, we have Gloria Close.
Good evening. That was quite shocking to hear the amount of money spent by board members against board members on ethics. That is really a slap on the taxpayers' faces to hear 247 mackerel was spent on this. On page, I'm just going to go very quickly. I have a question on the agenda, page 3. Now that we no longer have Mr. Quirk here, will the board and the administration kindly evaluate this position if it is needed to be filled in again, or maybe we don't need to hire another person for this position?
Do you want us to answer each question as they come, or do you want us to wait till...
Okay, because I'm going to go, just in case we forget, very quickly on the agenda. Okay, on Renee Davis, administration building, $95,000. And it says it's a replacement for the pupil personnel. Did we lose an employee there?
We actually had, there was an administrative supervisor in student services. That was a position that was not renewed, and also my former position in C&I.
So this is a replacement to an existing position. Do we need that position again? Because we always feel that the administration is so padded with positions. Maybe it's time that we look into this and kind of minimize position if we can. Another one, administration building, the senior desktop support technician for information technology, $85,000. Let me go over quickly and then you can answer that. The boilers, very quick question. At the last meeting, we heard so many I don't understand. Are we paying for them to be licensed, or are we hiring and retaining boilers? Because at the last meeting, you voted so many per school, and now we're voting again. Let's say in Howell, you approve 13. And then you have in Manalapan, you have 9, in Marlboro, you have 10. I just don't understand. Are you paying for these boilers to be licensed, or are you hiring them for the district? Because there's too many boilers. I have them all here from last meeting. Freehold Township, we have 11. Folks Neck, we have 10. You can answer that. I just want to understand, okay?
Go ahead, you have more?
Okay, yeah, 20. The summer program, we have summer program every summer. Do we need to hire guidance counselor? I know during the early part when my kids' friends went to high school during summer program, taking advanced classes, they go into the class and they go home. We have here several guidance counselors that we're hiring for the summer position. Is there a need for that? Let me go over. The bill. This one was placed there on the table by 8:10. It was still hot from the printer. How do you expect us to go over this? I requested over and over, this must be so many times already, that I requested from this board to please put this online so that at least we will have time to read. Like the agenda, I can read prior to coming here. But this one, I was looking for this when I came in at 7:30 to glance at pages, right? Just to see what's going on. I had no time. They put it down there by 8:10. Still hot from the printer. These, a bunch of them like that. 2 reams of paper you can save. All you have to do is post this. What is so hard, you have so many people in your technology department. This is so easy to put up online. And now you're going to approve it again. We don't even know what the heck you're approving. Oh, did you have a chance to read this at least? Question again on attachment 2. You have, what is financial manager and equipment manager? And also I noticed on page 1, you have, can I mention the name? Megan
If it's a name that appears on the public agenda, you can mention it,
right.
But the board may or may not be able to answer your question, depending on the nature.
I'm just asking, like I said, what is the financial manager and equipment manager? And then I noticed also on page 1 of 12, Megan Basco, she is appointed as the junior class co-advisor, and then she's also appointed financial manager and equipment manager, a total of almost, I believe, almost 15,000 stipend. Why does she have to have 3 stipends?
15.
Okay, another thing, Massimini Pamela. She's a music director, she's a vocal director, and then a third one would be drill team flag twirlers advisor. A total of 15,000. 3 stipend. And then the Laura Krupa for financial manager and equipment. We have so many volunteers. I think this financial is about money, maybe holding money for maybe games. We have so many parents that are so willing to volunteer. We have assistant coaches, tons of them. I mean, one football season, a group of them, costs one team, $45,000. We have parents who are always willing because my kids all play sports. We have assistant coaches. We have coaches. We have the SICA. Why do we have? If you're on, I would volunteer, save you about $12,000 one season. I'll collect them, I'll put up the equipment for you. But it's just too much for the taxpayer to look at this. And then on the last page here, attachment 5 for Mr. Sean Boyce and Mr. Jason Schwinn. Both of them are Shin. Thank you. Both of them are attending the New Jersey Association of School Business Official Annual Conference. I know they're entitled to, But my question here is, he is a business administrator and assistant business administrator attending on the same day. What happened if some emergency takes place? That's the only question. Not question, I know they're entitled to that position. And on the last one also of the agenda, you have here Rivera, Angela Rivera, AP Summer Institute, paid for with FY, Title IIA funding for $975. Now, there's another one here, Alexander Rosenwald, AP Summer Institute, but no such thing as being paid for by Title II funding. And how come Rivera's the same course, the same number of days, same in New Jersey, they're getting paid $975, and the other one is $882. But are we paying for this, Ms. Evangelista? The district, or is it coming from the grant money?
Gloria.
Oh.
You know, Mr. Heshe doesn't want to be rude. You know that, right?
Oh, yeah, sure.
Okay, but I mean, we've gone way over, and I haven't.
That's the last question.
Oh, that's the last question. Okay, so we now have a chance to answer your questions. Okay.
Who wants to start?
You have a lot of questions.
I know.
Yeah.
I need to understand this, that's why.
I know you could call too, ahead of time and you could talk to us about some of these questions before coming here, because it's going to take a lot of time, but I'll go through them. Page 3, James Quirk's position was one of your questions. At this time, whether or not it'll be filled will be left to the new superintendent, who will be starting on June 6th. So we do have a position there, and James Quirk has been very valuable in the building, has been very valuable in the district, so Mr. Sampson will make that recommendation. Page 4, I think, over here, next one. Oh, you answered. You took care of that one with the administrative supervisor?
Yeah.
I will.
Okay.
Sure. You had a couple of questions I just jotted down. The guidance counselors. They are working half days this summer. They work within our buildings to handle new families that move in, to go through the registration process, as well as finalizing schedules for students so that we open up our buildings seamlessly for the opening of school, and working on program planning through the department. So that's an absolutely needed position for this summer. I think that was with the guidance counselors.
So only half day, because some of them have 29 days straight. Well, some are identified as half.
Yes, they're sharing it with someone. So there may be 2 guidance counselors.
But the normal is 29 days.
Yes, correct. The other 2 questions that you brought up, the senior desktop support technician and the administrative supervisor for student services, are really 2 absolutely needed positions in our district. As you know, we've come a long way, leaps and bounds, in terms of our technology in our district as it relates to our infrastructure, as well as having those hands-on tools for students. We will be undergoing a massive infrastructure project in our district. We're working on the servers here at central office, as well as in all of our buildings. We are continuously upgrading our equipment and our wiring and our services to our schools, for our students, and for our staff. It's a massive undertaking. We have, 1 individual right now who does that, supported by our techs. And we have, the State Department now has reporting mechanisms through New Jersey Smart, which is like one huge, massive data warehouse where all of the information of our students and our district gets funneled to. We need the support in those technological venues to handle all of that reporting that needs to go on for the State Department. So we're looking to that person to assist us in that, as well as some 2 major migrations that are going to be going on to our student management system, as well as to the system that we utilize for our IEPs for our students, so that we have web-based programs and tools that are going to be fully accessible to our staff and to our students. The administrative supervisor in student service will be working directly, hand in hand with me, on a multitude of projects that relate individually to our students' needs. Special education, which we have a lot of initiatives and changes on the forefront. Guidance services, student assistance, counseling, our medical offices, all of our interactions with parents and students to provide the absolute optimal services for our students. And that person will be working hand in hand with me for quite a long time to service our constituents in the district. So it's absolutely needed.
Okay, next we have our boiler license aficionado.
Yes, quickly, boiler license, it's individuals that are licensed, and per the bargaining agreement, they're entitled to a stipend for holding that license. As far as professional development and my availability, I'm available at all times via cell phone to handle any financial emergency that may occur. And finally, the bills list, and as I have in the past, I invite you to any questions that you have. You can call me at any time, and I'd be happy to answer those questions for you.
Okay, next a question about the coaches and equipment manager, Mr. Bruno. Would you like to take that and explain to Ms. Cosa to do this?
I'd be happy to, thank you. Ms. Cosa, financial is the person who takes care of all the gate money receipts, things like that, at the athletic contest and secures that. The equipment manager is a person who's working primarily with the Seekers in securing equipment, taking inventory as equipment comes in. As the coaches bring their equipment back after each season, they take inventory. So it is two separate positions.
And last but not least, Gloria, as an ex-coach of 35 years, you hurt me deeply. So I just want to tell you that I don't know if a parent, besides legal implications about liability and things like that, I don't think a parent can volunteer to be a high school coach. I'm not saying they wouldn't have the expertise. I've met some people.
I did not say the coach. I said the financial manager, handling the money and equipment, not the coach.
Oh, okay. Well, Mr. Boyd?
Yeah, Mrs. Close, I would have concerns with that. People aren't bonded, there's no criminal background check. There's a number of liability type issues that pop into my mind to have volunteers handling district money. So I would not be recommending volunteers to handle district money.
Oh, I don't think he has.
Then one last, Mrs. Close, if you still would like to volunteer, you could come up to the HR office, we process everything there. Thank you.
So you didn't hurt me, I feel better.
Just one very quick before I said, Mr. Boyd, you said to me I can call you, but I only get this at 8:10 of the meeting. How can I ask questions if I have questions? I don't see this at all.
Mrs. Close, any questions that you have on the bills list, I'd be happy to answer for you at any time.
She wants to answer before we vote.
Well, but it's the board's responsibility to vote on the bills list, Mrs. Close. Any questions that you have on any bill paid in this district?
This tonight, Mr. Boyd.
That's true, the board is acting on it
Right,
tonight.
so
The community,
I got this at
Mrs. Close,
8:10.
Yeah, but we didn't.
my point is, the community can ask me those questions at any time.
It's cost effective to put it online. That's all I'm trying to say. Make it transparent to everybody. Thank you.
You're welcome, Gloria.
Okay, next up we have Rick.
Rick, I'm having a hard time reading the last name.
Don't worry about a lot of people.
He said a lot of people do.
Oh, you want to come up?
All right.
Could you just state your last name?
Nick Vermont.
Oh, good, okay.
My question wasn't really pertinent to the agenda. I'm just trying to, I'm here for school to observe the Board of Ed meeting. But in the meantime, I just want to know if any of these schools in the district were hiring for special ed teachers, because I have a friend who's a teacher who's trying to look for a job.
Okay. Superintendent.
You can check on our website, I don't know if he has already, www.frhsd.com. On the top bar, you'll see the human resource button. We are hiring at this time for special ed teachers, so please tell him to go right there and he can fill out the application online.
All right, great, thank you.
Thank you. You're welcome.
Okay, David Lewis.
Hi, I'm David Lewis from Howell Township. I was here last month talking about marching band and concert band and the link between the two.
Mr. Lewis, I don't know if I can make this quick, but under the category of new business, we will be bringing up your situation. So I don't know if you want to make the speech.
Okay, sure. Just the only statement that I wanted to make is I do appreciate Ms. Tomazik contacting me that she did speak with administration and some of the principals, and there was concern about the relationship of the district policy to the ability to have students be required to participate in marching band. And my only statement is I actually looked up the policy on the website, and it seems to me, reading as a layperson, the relevant paragraph is when public performances are scheduled as a regular part of the course of study taken for credit, pupils shall be informed in advance of their obligation to participate. They will be excused from participation only in accordance with board policy on pupil attendance, which to me reads like the policy is clearly allowing this to be a required part of the class, not that the policy prohibits it from being required as part of the class. So I'll leave it at that. You're going to be covering under new business, and I'll table my further comments until I hear what happens next.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Next we have Karen Walker Bradley. Going once?
Not here.
Going twice?
She's not here.
Not here. And then last but not least, we have Nancy Lacasio.
I'll pass.
Oh. Well, that is the end of our public participation. Is there anyone who didn't sign up who would like to say something? Yes. Just state your name, although I do know it.
Leon Cerrone.
Okay.
Yeah, Dr. Hazel a couple of minutes ago mentioned this master data warehouse. And as soon as I heard her say that, the first thing that went to my mind is security and data security. We read so much about identity theft and hackers. Are you comfortable with the fact that whatever information is being stored there stays there?
Absolutely. We have all those safeguards in place, and it's all run by ID numbers, so there's not names connected to it. But our technology department has all of the safeguards in place to protect our students and any information that we have housed in our data systems.
Thank you. Okay. Next we move on to approval of routine action items. We'll take them. Dr. Case. You have some modifications?
Mr. Hershey, you did not answer the question yet on the fund, on the grant money on the page 1 of your attachment 5 between Rivera Angela and Alexander Rosenwald. The second one is under the grant money.
Okay, Donna, would you like to?
Sure. Angela Rivera's request from the principal came in time to be funded through the budget in the No Child Left Behind grant for this year. Each principal maintains a professional development account, so when that budget runs out, they have local funds in order to send teachers out who need to be trained or retrained in teaching the College Board's advanced placement classes. And I believe that is the case with Mr. Rosenberg.
So it's not funded by grant at all, we're paying for it?
Yes.
Is that what you say?
Yes.
Okay. All right, next we have approval of routine action items.
We have two changes on page 5. Our senior desktop support technician for information technology aired prorated per annum to the salary of Hiram Shah, because this is our salary that'll be from now to the end of June, and it'll be prorated. Page 9 and 10, child study team and nurses for summer employment. In the back of the room, there is a list of the changes in salary, and it looks like this, if you can pick that up. Anyone that's out there, and board members have that up at their table. That's all, thank you.
Okay. Mr. Manager. All right, now we come to the approval of routine action items. We'll take H first, H1 to H7.
Get a motion, second.
Could we have a motion on H1 to H7?
Move.
Okay, could I have a second, please?
I'll second it.
Second, seconds. Discussion?
Can we clarify what exactly we're going to be changing in terms of the honoraria and who's getting that? Just so we're clear about the music director and vocal director.
You mean all the items that have to be adjusted?
Yes.
Well, we know the one is that has to be adjusted to vocal to music director. That was in Howell High School.
Page 7. You know that as a fact that that was on
Yes.
Yeah.
And then page 9, Edward Guerrera, where it says assistant coach, it'd say head coach. And Jen, help me out, was there another one?
I think that's it.
Yeah, that's it. Is that it?
Okay, so here we go.
Any discussion? H1 to H7? Okay, Royce?
Mr. Bruno?
Yes.
Mr. Mazick?
Yes.
Mrs. Canario? Mr. Messinger?
Yes.
Mrs. Lavin?
Yes.
Mr. Acetola?
Yes.
Mrs. Sutera?
Yes.
Mr. Lawson?
Yes.
Mr. Moses?
Yes. Okay, next. Oh, sorry.
At this time, I'd like to introduce our new administrative supervisor, who's been sitting here in the audience, Renee Davis, and come and meet the board.
Renee, can you just tell us where you're coming from?
The Middlesex County Vocational School, and I'm just happy to be with you all.
Okay, next.
We're happy to have you.
Next we have I1 to I3.
Move. Second?
Second.
Discussion?
Mr. Bruno?
Yes.
Mr. Mazick?
Yes.
Mr. Messinger?
Yes.
Mrs. Lavin?
Yes.
Mr. Acetola?
Yes.
Mrs. Sutera?
Yes.
Mr. Lawson?
Yes.
Mr. Moses?
Yes.
Can I just?
Yes.
In I3 was payroll, so abstentions should be correct.
Yes, to the extent we... Payroll, you mean regarding board members?
Yeah, just in the minutes, I prefer to, for the abstentions that were made last week, to see if they applied here.
Okay.
As in regard to Mr. Bruno and Mr. Lawson.
Okay, very good. So noted.
Okay, next up we have J1. We have a...
Motion.
Who's it? Mary Ann? Second?
Second.
Jen seconded. Discussion? Mr. Boyce?
Mr. Bruno?
Yes.
Mr. Mazick?
Yes.
Mr. Messinger?
Yes.
Mrs. Lavin?
Yes.
Mr. Acetola?
Yes.
Mrs. Sutera?
Yes.
Mr. Lawson?
Yes.
Mr. Moses?
Yes.
And then we have K1 to K8. We have a motion.
Motion.
Yeah. Second?
Second.
Is that Mr. Lawson? Oh, is that Mr. Lawson?
Okay, discussion?
I asked a question about the transportation for the overnight trip to Grapevine. We are paying for the transportation to Newark Airport, which if you look at it seems excessive. But there's guidelines in terms of bus transportation, so can we just have an explanation?
I think that comes from the person right next to you, Donna.
Oh, sure. Mr. Boyce, you can feel free to chime in also. The bus transportation that the district has agreed to when we furnish a school bus is $1,000 for a round trip. That encompasses the driver's salary, driver's insurance benefits, the insurance on the vehicle, fuel costs, maintenance costs on the vehicle, and Sean, anything else?
That covers it. And, I don't know, to me it seems like a lot of money. It's like, we know in other districts, is this comparable or?
It's 500 or 1,000.
Oh, it's two 500s. I mean, it's basically like 40 miles, maybe even less.
Yeah, it represents, right, it represents the amount just for the ease administrative. The reality of it is that we're going to transport our students to certain in-state, like the airport, and certain events. In order to capture costs, we've standardized the cost of getting a bus transportation, and rather doing it on a trip-by-trip basis, we look at overall for the year, the types of trips we use, the types of costs we incur, and from that we come to a standard amount to use so for the principals to budget and what the cost of an actual trip is. So it doesn't represent the actual cost necessarily, but really the portion of the aggregate for the year. Oh, one more thing, Mr. Messinger, one thing I think that goes towards your point is we can provide it cheaper than getting a charter or something else. That's the important thing.
Okay, so we have K1 to K8. Call the roll, please, Mr. Foster.
Mr. Bruno?
Yes.
Mr. Mazick?
Yes.
Mr. Messinger?
Yes.
Mrs. Lavin?
Yes.
Mr. Asatola?
Yes.
Mrs. Sutera?
Yes.
Mr. Lawson?
Yes.
Mr. Moses?
Yes. And last but not least, we have L1. Can we have a motion, please?
Motion.
Mary Ann, motion.
Second.
Jen, second.
Discussion?
Support.
Mr. Bruno?
Yes.
Mr. Mazick?
Yes.
Mr. Messinger?
Yes.
Mrs. Lavin?
Yes.
Mr. Asatola?
Yes.
Mrs. Sutera?
Yes.
Mr. Lawson?
Yes.
Mr. Moses?
Yes. Okay, that brings us to old business. Any comments on old business? Then it brings us to new business. David, I didn't forget. I would like to make I don't know, a motion, or I would like a discussion, and I would like it resolved tonight. I know probably after next year, we cannot force people to participate in after-school activities if they are part of the course, because I know the state will not probably allow that. But as of next year, the only group of, I should say, the only curriculum that is being affected by this is the music curriculum, and that would be specifically the marching band. We are allowing kids we're telling kids they don't have to participate in the marching band. I have seen myself, over the 35 years of working here, the marching band at Frhsd Borough go from something that should have been in a cartoon somewhere to an incredible group of musicians. Yes, I am prejudiced about this because music is part of my life. And I think that music is an incredible, not only talent, but a gift. It crosses all lines. I know that from what I was told, that the principals got together with other groups of people, not the people who were head of the music departments, and this decision was made. I also was told, and if I'm wrong, please somebody tell me, that it will not cost any extra money to have the incoming freshmen be told that marching band is mandatory if they're in the music. Take the music classes. I don't understand why that department is being singled out. And I think the administration is making a horrible mistake on two fronts. One, not treating everyone the same. I've seen too many instances in the history of this district where people are not treated the same. And two, the people who run the music departments were not asked for their input. And I just think that that is a mistake. And I think that when people make a mistake, I think it's really good that they say, you know what, my bad, I made a mistake, and correct it. I know that this probably won't go past next year, but I do not want to see
the marching bands penalized next year when they don't have to be. So if there's anyone else on the board that would like to say anything.
I agree with you, and I have been to the marching band festivals of all the schools, not only Frhsd Borough, but I am in awe of their performances, and I don't want to see that program done away with either. They should be mandatory to be marching band for the band members.
Marianne?
So, I followed up with this comment over the past week or two, and from my understanding, from my meeting with Ms. Evangelista, is that this started as a policy discussion concerning pay to participate. So that there are 3 areas that were identified. One had to do with the Skills USA, culinary, one had to do with FFA, which had to do with agriculture, and the marching band. And so I can understand on that level why music supervisors weren't contacted, because it wasn't a curriculum discussion, it was a policy discussion. And there's 2 other things associated with it, so I could see principals being the proper representative. That being said, obviously there's a misunderstanding or perhaps a different interpretation of the policy. So going forward from this point, what I suggest is now that we have going to have committees set up, and I know this is not going to be resolved tonight, so maybe you don't like the solution, but perhaps we can have legal counsel look at a policy to see whether our interpretation or whether the administrator's interpretation of that specific policy is correct. And then if it is correct, and we can't require students to participate in marching band, is that we're definitely going to have to go look at the curriculum, because as the curriculum stands now online, it says that there's a required athletic band unit. So then that way we can bring it up to the curriculum committee and the policy committee to see if we want to change our policy.
Anyone else?
Yeah, I have something to say. I don't think and Mr. Lamb could attest to this, anybody's heard the marching band more than I have in the past since the inception. And I can tell you that I think it is a wonderful program, and I fully endorse it. Study after study has shown that music in schools has a direct impact on the academic performance of the kids that are participating in it. And since it is not costing any additional program, I think it would be ludicrous to eliminate that program and not to come out in full support of it.
Yes?
Okay, as a parent of a band person, I don't know how many years ago, my daughter's 32, 1997 at Howell High School, I was actually on the other side. She wanted to be in the band but not take band class because she wanted to take another elective. And she was limited in her choices of electives. So I was one of the mothers that, why can't she be in band and not have to take band class? Because policy stated you have to take band class to participate in marching band. Isn't that the discussion, policy? Okay, so that's the way it was then, and I'm assuming it's the same way, so obviously, and
vice versa.
Right, exactly, so...
I'm sorry, just point of information, what the context of the conversation was at the time, and was focused on participation fees, and if you remember, we had a presentation about that, and whether or not we could impose participation fees on students that were involved in a program that was mandatory and in some way connected, linked into the curriculum. So that was the crux of the discussion, although it does go the other direction, as you had mentioned. So that just as a point of information, that was the context of the conversation.
And can I just make a statement about that point? Because I understand that money is tight, right? And we're looking for ways to support the programs. But I want the administration of the board to understand if participation fees were not required for these curricular activities, band being as part of the program, or Skills USA or whatever. From the band point of view, I'm guessing there are about 300 students in marching band district-wide. Maybe more. I'm thinking we've got about 100 in maybe more.
There has to be more than that.
500. We've got 100 in Frhsd. Howell, I think, is a little bit smaller. Some of the other, and most of the others are that size or smaller. So say 500 to 600 students in marching band. First of all, as I understand the discussion of participation fees, it was not a fee for each activity.
Correct.
It was a fixed fee if you're involved in any activities.
That was the proposal as it stood.
Right. So first of all, of those 500 or 600 students, many of them, I know my son and my older son who is a junior and my younger son who will be a freshman next year are both going to be participating in things in addition to marching band. So that's one thing. The other very important factor is we've talked to some of the student leadership at some of the bands in the district, and we've heard a very consistent number for many of them that if marching band is not required, you could lose 40 to 50% of the students. So you're not looking at 500 students. First, you're looking at 500 students, well, maybe, say, half of them, band is their only activity. So you're now looking at 250 students participation fees. Well, half of them might not do band because they don't want to. If they really don't particularly like standing out in the sun in the summertime, or they have other activities they'd rather be doing Friday night, or their parents can't afford $100 for a participation fee. So you're not looking at $50,000 in participation from these band students. You're looking at a much smaller number. So keep in mind, when you're looking at the trade-off here, the trade-off between a small amount of money that the district is going to get compared to the very large impact that it's going to have on the students who do want to participate.
For the students who want to continue on with music in their careers that we've talked to at the various high schools, they're not going to have an opportunity. They're not going to have that experience to show when they apply to college. Or maybe the passion will be in them because they didn't do music in the end, and then they're going to do something else.
Yeah, I feel like I'm coming in the middle of a sentence because it wasn't at the meeting 2 weeks ago, so what is the proposed policy? Because my understanding was, I was here for the presentation, that if we went to a pay-to-play model, you had to disengage the class from the activity. So what's the current, but my understanding is that it's still, because my son had to take marching band next year, had to take band in order to be in marching band. So is the proposal that that's not going to be the case? Because now they're talking about doing away, it sounds like people feel like it's being done away with, so I'm confused.
Through the chair to Don Evangelos. Don, has this decision been made, or can we revisit it?
Okay. If you could explain what the decision is, because we're sitting here, what happened?
Currently, at the time the decision was made, the budget, we had not received our state aid figures, and the budget vote had not occurred.
Okay.
So we didn't know at that point, Mr. Boyce, if he was going to need to put in pay to participate for us to have activities. And I did, you can sit down there, I'll just stand. And I just wanted to say that in terms of policy 5880, Mr. Lewis, you did read from the third paragraph, but the second paragraph does have a line in it, so it is a policy decision for the board. No pupil may be compelled to participate in an elective public performance or penalized for his or her failure to participate.
And that refers to public performances of pupil organizations. And everywhere else in the policy discussion, pupil organization refers to extracurricular activities, not activities that are part of a core society.
And to answer, I'm sorry, I didn't catch your name.
June's around Frhsd Township.
We do have students, there are exceptions, I think Mr. Boyce talked about that already, students who cannot fit band enrollment in their course schedule because of increasing graduation requirements, or because they need to take an AP course for the college they're applying for, and it conflicts in the master schedule of the school. Those students who are musically gifted are allowed to participate in the marching band after school.
I don't actually have a problem with it. I'm just trying to understand, because nobody stated what is the policy. I came into the middle of a conversation. Is it that they don't have to take the class now, or they do? Because I have a son who will probably eventually not have room in his schedule for band, but wants to be in the marching band. So I'm not attached either way. I'm just trying to understand what the policy is.
Well, my only comment was, I'm more concerned about the incoming freshmen next year and getting them to participate in the band.
I have an incoming freshman. Maybe I'm not hearing it, but I still don't have an answer to what is the current policy for September. It's not going to go drop band tomorrow. I just want to understand, because from the reactions of some people, it sounds like you're because of financial problems, you're not gonna have a band or something.
That shouldn't be,
So-
that shouldn't be a point, because we're not having pay to play for anything next
I
year.
know that, I just,
Wait, yeah, let him.
As of right now, to the best of my knowledge, there have been no changes to policy. So the policy is what the policy has always been.
okay, that's
There have
great.
been no changes.
Okay.
Can I have a confirmation from Ms. Evangelista that currently people enrolled in band have to be in marching band in fall 2011?
Yes, that was policy.
Okay, maybe there's confusion over what is policy. Practice in the district has been that the band directors require the students who are enrolled in marching band class to participate in the marching band. In terms of policy, I don't see that anywhere in our policy, our board policies.
But we've never followed policy then, have we? We've never followed the policy.
So for a student who is currently enrolled in band for the upcoming school year, will they or will they not be required to be in marching band?
Right now, the student is not required to be in marching band as of this moment in time.
Okay, and then if that is the case, then we're going to have to perhaps put this to the curriculum committee, because the current curriculum does say that for band students, each year begins with a required athletic band unit.
Right, and then if you read further down, it talks about they're expected, not required to attend after school. I think that's in the next paragraph.
No, I'm talking about the curriculum.
Yeah, I am too. If you take a look at, I don't know if you have it up in front of you, that same paragraph, the next, I believe it's 2 sentences past that, students will be expected to attend regular and after-school, evening, weekend, and/or summer rehearsals, meetings, performances. It says expected. Right.
Yeah, but it's required.
I know.
Okay, so just
So it's
for the board to know that you're going to have to, if that's the case, we will have to revise this.
I have one question, Ms. Evangelista, if I can. And I really don't know the answer to this. Isn't it possible for kids that attend the vocational schools, such as Monmouth County Biotech, to go to and participate in the marching band?
Yes.
So how would they then be required to go to band class? So we can't have it for one and not the other, am I?
We seem to have it both ways right now.
Yeah, so I mean, we have to really address that in a concrete fashion, I think.
My point is still the fact that I don't want the people in the band to be treated any differently than any other course that we offer in the district. I don't want them to be different or singled out just because of this pay-to-play, which doesn't even exist next year. So that's my point.
I just have one more,
Yes.
maybe it will help the discussion. In the discussion of pay to participate, we had to find a common rationale for separating the link between a required student activity and the curriculum. And what we found was that the Carl D. Perkins grant, which is a federal grant, requires student participation, and as Ms. Thomasak stated, in culinary arts, Skills USA participation is required, and in Animal and Botanical Sciences Academy, membership in FFA is required. There was no federal mandate for the marching band class, so that's why that line was drawn there.
And is it correct that DECA has also been severed? Correct.
DECA has been severed also because DECA is no longer a Carl D. Perkins approved program as of July 1st.
We don't have to join marching.
I'm confused. They don't have to join marching band right now, as the policy states. If they're in band, they don't have to join marching band. That's what, right now. Last year, they had to join marching band, and now they don't.
The pay to participate discussion was the catalyst to examine our current practice.
That being said, as Ms. Lavin had pointed out, perhaps it would be wise for the administration to send out a memo to all the students, not just those that had signed up for band and marching band, saying that this requirement is no longer existent, so that people who wanted to join band but didn't want to do marching band, at least are notified of this decision.
And they're also made aware that they can pick a different elective.
And can we also request that maybe this be put to the policy committee to kind of make sure, and to legal counsel to make sure this is the correct interpretation of the policy?
Yes. Yes, Nancy.
I am completely confused. I'm a band parent, a marching band student who participates in the concert band, the jazz band, and takes the class. And next year we're struggling because Joe wants to take band, and there's no room in his schedule to take the required career electives. I'm not concerned, you know about his situation already. And I'm confused because what's happening here is you're throwing words around like policy, practice, and curriculum. There's policy, and I understood the confusion about required and expected, because sometimes those words are very much the same. Requiring someone to do it and expecting to do it, especially teenagers, is pretty much the same thing, at least in my house. And so you talk about that, and then you have the practice. We can't say, oh, well, all these years we've been doing it this way, and now we've decided we're going to change the policy, or we're going to live by policy. You have to make a decision, in my opinion. And secondly, if you're going to look at the curriculum implications, when is the music curriculum up for review? Where is it in the cycle right now?
Right now, I have that for you. Last time the board approved it was August 31st, 2009. So it will complete its 3-year cycle in 2012.
Okay, so I guess the question then becomes, is the board willing to open up that curriculum sooner than its planned cycle to address
No
it?
rule against that.
Okay. And then I guess you just have to look at the academic implications and then the musical implications of making that choice now. Because you will, in my opinion, the marching bands will suffer. It is not expected.
You're going to have maybe 40, 50 kids out doing a field show. It's not going to happen. And you're going to have to, there won't be a marching band at any of the schools. And then you're not going to be able to get it back. Because everyone's going to say, well, we don't have to do marching band. So.
I understand what you're saying. I really do. And so much is driven in my curriculum world by student interest. And this decision that was made when we talked about pay to participate was made to be as consistent as we could be. And the divider was the federal funding, and marching band fell outside that line at that time.
I understand that this conversation was prompted by the pay to play, and I understand, as you know, that conversation about pay to play and extracurricular activities and what we charge for and what we don't. I thoroughly understand that. But you know, if you're saying we're keeping the students' interests in mind, I think that those students and parents should have been included if this conversation was getting as far as it sounds like it did, in terms of altering a significant program.
And music supervisors.
Yeah, it was said that wasn't taken into
I think Ms. Tomasak explained at that time it was at a point in the process where we didn't know about our state funding or anything, so we didn't know if we were going ahead with it or not. We didn't know about the budget election until the end of, I guess it was April.
Okay, but the horse is out of the barn. Pat, you started this conversation. It's clearly gotten some concern from your community. And we're, thank goodness we're not talking about pay to play right now. But I think that we can't start that conversation and then end it unless you're going to not question policy any longer and you're just going to let the curriculum stay as it is. So you can't have both ways.
I understand what you're saying.
The board community is not here because we spoke with other parents tonight. We only knew about this as a response and we got an email. We talked to other grandparents. They know nothing about this. They would be so irate right now when they find out what's going to happen. They do not know that this is planned by you. They have no idea.
Remember, it's not a unilateral decision. My job as the curriculum and instruction office is to implement a decision. In terms of knowing about it, the course catalog, the change was made on the online course catalog. and the principals. That was made in February.
But when you look at the curriculum, when you want to suggest, I'm interested in the concert band, I look at the concert band curriculum, and it says participation in athletic band is required. That's the information that's there. And I know that, again, we signed up our freshmen, incoming freshmen for concert band. We've not heard anything that says he's not required to be in concert band if he wants to be marching band. If you would like to discuss your electives, please contact guidance counselor. And if that's the case, I would suspect that most of these students in the district have not gotten that word.
Yeah, I'm
Well,
going to
I'm
check
glad.
with the principals.
Because then they'll think they have to participate. And Mary Ann, I respectfully disagree with you about the final decision when it was put on the internet. I think that music directors should have been included in the conversation. I absolutely believe they should have been included. Too many times decisions are made at the top, and the people who are in the trenches, who are involved in everyday activities, are not asked for an input.
Let me just clarify my views. I love music. Anyone who knows me, I'm 13-year music. I was in all-state orchestra. I was involved in the music program. On another note, the reason why I feel like the principals were a good representative was because this was not a curriculum discussion, and this was a policy. And what turned out of a policy turned into a legal thing is our practice the same as their policy? So personally, as a board member, the first thing I want to do is make sure what we do in the classrooms are the same as a policy that we create here. Because even if the policy is wrong, if we're not following it, that's a whole another issue. So if we can correct our current system to make sure that what we require students matches our policies, I think that's our #1 priority.
Okay, and I think that should be the first thing the policy committee discusses. First thing.
Yes, and from there, if the board as a collective decide that we would like to change it so that we can allow this marching band, that's one issue. And if we decide that, no, we don't want to, then we're going to have to look at curriculum. But either way, I think the most important thing is currently, is this interpretation of the policy in correct practice in our schools.
Okay. We're going to close the meeting on that note. I know that the music parents don't have an answer, but I will say that if you're correct, Mr. Davis, about what it says on the internet, then everybody just be quiet and don't think they have to participate. Okay, can I have a motion that the meeting be adjourned?
We did the issue regarding the audit, which is...
Okay. Oh, yes. Before you do that, Carl, we're having an extra board meeting on June 13th, and I would tell the public, you do not need to show up until 8 o'clock. You do not have to show up at 7 because we're having an executive session from 6 to 8. So please, you don't need to be coming early. And Carl, I know that you want to bring it up?
Yeah, I'll bring it up. A lot of people know that I've been attending board meetings for 3 years, and there's always been a lot of questions from the public, which I absolutely value. A lot of times we can't answer the questions, and we need to know, and I'm speaking as a board member now, we need to get some expert opinion. And there is a resource out there, the New Jersey State Controller's Office, run by an individual named Max, Eric Boxer is his name. And this is a resource that we could ask as a board to come in and look at open issues that we have. And he has an incredible background in areas of audit, such as procurement, such as law. I know for a fact he's a lawyer, and he could send a team of experts in. It's time that certain issues are addressed and are carefully looked at with an expert opinion. Now, some things may be in compliance with the law, and some things are just not best practice. A lot of things can be in compliance with the law, but it still isn't a best practice. I think that this district deserves the best. I think that things should be looked at. I think all of the public's questions should be answered by an authority and finally put to rest one way or another. And I believe that we should proceed with a request to have a fresh slate started, and auditors come in and take a look so that the superintendent and the public could see if there are best practices that are out there. The State Controller's Office does on their website concur that there are, that they do school districts. What do we have to hide? We have nothing to hide. Let's move ahead with that and move ahead with the district.
Any discussion from the board? Any objection?
I would just say, as long as it's not going to cost any money, since we're obviously already paying an auditor for it.
Right. I'm under the impression that it doesn't cost any money.
No, it doesn't cost any money.
I just have one question. You use the phrase, put things to rest. What kind of things is it that concern you?
Well, put things, there's constant questions from the public, and I think that allow the public to go out and ask questions while the auditor is in place, and let's just see what the public has questions, and the district has questions. I don't see any problem with that.
But obviously there's something that's troubling you. I'm asking you what that is.
It's transparency.
If there was a problem that he had, I don't know, legally, could he say his problems with the district if they consider, I don't know, personnel or?
No, not if it's related to a particular personnel issue, but I mean, if there's just general issues that he's concerned about from an audit.
One of the problems that I have is I would like to see that the new superintendent comes in and has a fresh start. That perhaps there are practices that aren't, that could be done better, such as the issuance of an RFP, things like that. Maybe there's ways of developing it better. So, in particular.
I know from the website directly, it says bring greater efficiency and transparency to either a school district or a government agency. So I don't know, if it doesn't cost any money, I don't understand, I don't know, just personally, I don't know what the problem is.
I'm not saying there's a problem. I was just curious what brought this up, and if we're looking for someone to cast a magic transparency window over us, why not?
Good.
But, you know, it sounded like there was something bothering you. That's what I'm curious.
I just want to have more transparency and a different view on things.
Okay.
That's an excellent idea.
Do we need to make a roll for this?
Sure, to direct the administration to request that the state.
Okay, we need to have a motion made.
I make the motion to direct the administration to contact the state controller to conduct an audit of the school board, of the school district.
Is this a fiscal audit, an operational audit?
An audit as they see fit. They come in, they ask questions, and they'll do a general overview.
Did we get a second on that?
Do we have a second?
Hide anything, right?
Second.
Mary Ann, seconded. Now we do discussion. More than the discussion we've already had. Seeing no further discussion.
Yes.
We take a vote.
Mr. Bruno?
Yes.
Mr. Mazick?
Yes.
Mr. Messinger?
Yes.
Mrs. Lavin?
Yes.
Mr. Asatola?
Yes.
Mrs. Sutera?
Yes.
Mr. Lawson?
Yes.
Mr. Moses?
Absolutely. All right, any other new business? Fantastic. We need a motion to close the meeting. Did we say the 13th? We did, right? Yeah. Okay. Need a motion to close the meeting? Motion by Bill, seconded by Jen.